What we're missing is, like I said, we just talked about one of the secrets. One of the it
Yeah.
are the optimal ranges, like
Mhm.
the not looking at the traditional reference range, what we're going to call pathological range, right?
Mhm.
Those are one of the secrets to find out that there are other ways to look at blood work.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of The Sharice Williams Show, the only podcast created for the highly conscious, high impact nurse turned entrepreneur looking to create, launch, and scale a wildly profitable holistic health and consulting business from a place of ease and flow while also optimizing your wellness and vitality naturally. I'm so excited to share this space with you guys today. I'm so excited to share this guest with you today. Today, we're actually going to be talking about the secret language of blood work that most doctors miss. And so let me tell you who we're speaking with today. It is none other than Dr. Orlandis Wells. Dr. Orlandis has been a medical doctor for 24 years. His experience is in the obstetrics and gynecology field, and he has specialized in really focusing on helping both men and women overcome hormone imbalances. He is super passionate about exploring the root cause of the patient's health condition in order to relieve symptoms with hormone dysfunction and menopause. He is happily married and a father of two beautiful daughters. Please help me welcome Dr. Orlandis Wells. Hey, Dr. Orlandis.
Hello, Sharice. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. How are you?
You know what? I'm doing utterly fantastic, much better than I'm speaking with you and your audience today.
Why? Thank you. Well, I'm excited. I'm so excited to have this conversation because, you know, I think it's such an important conversation to have because we can all relate to perhaps presenting, if it's not us personally, then someone in our life, maybe our client, uh, feeling a certain kind of way, and then perhaps going to their provider, they run a battery of tests, and either they say, "Oh, you're fine," or they still don't get resolution. So I love that we're talking about the secrets that most doctors miss just from blood work. So tell us a little bit before we jump into some of the secrets. If you want to share with us, like, how did you come to this? What brought you here?
Okay. Well, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. Well, how I came to it was my mother. My mother, she's no longer with us. She transitioned a few
Mm,
years ago. Was sick, not doing well, and to traditional things that if so ironic. See, my background is a brick wall, so
mm,
traditional medicine has hit a brick wall. Right. All we want to do is medicate and just continue to medicate surgery things like that. So
right.
that's wasn't cool. So she was really miserable, and I'm like, yeah, I went into medicine to help, to heal, to make people give people a better quality of life. And what I found is that that wasn't happening. And so, you know that, but when it really hits home, when it's your
Hmm.
mother or yourself, so it spurred me like there has to be something else. What else is going on? Because what I've been doing is not working. What I've been taught is helping, but it's not working. It's just
Right.
temporary fixing the problem. And so I just started studying, getting mentors, traveling around the country, hell, around the world. I went international seminars, conference, books. I mean, heck, it's a one I'm still married because I had books all over the house. Even like even these books, you more time to be able to books than me, right? So I was just so and when you find out something, it takes you down
Yeah.
a rabbit hole. You get a mentor, they take you down a rabbit hole. I wanted to be an inch wide, but I want to be a mile deep. So I don't want to be
Yes.
everything to everybody and end up being nothing to nobody. So I want to really get an area and focus. And so that led me to like, how are we looking at labs? Everybody that comes, even in my office, hey, Miss Jones, I know you're tired. I know you can't lose weight. I know you're having emotional problems, anxiety, depression, hormones. You're sick. You don't have a sex drive. And then I say, let's draw your blood. And then I say, hey, your results in. They come back all excited, thinking, this man, finally, I'm going to get an answer to my issue. And when I tell them, hey, Miss Jones, good news is, I know you feel crappy, but the good news is your blood is your labs are normal. And I can't tell you how many people look so disappointed. I said, she probably want
Yeah.
to up over the desk and probably stab me with an ink pen. Like, I know you just couldn't get me excited
Right. I
to tell me
know.
everything's normal when they don't feel normal. And what I found
Right.
is that with the blood work, and I think we were talking earlier, it's regional. So I'm here in Henderson, Nevada, right outside of Las Vegas, right? So if someone's in Miami, Florida, or New York, their lab ranges are going to be different. It's compared to, this is based on either the 400-pound male that just got his blood drawn before me, or is it the 98-year-old woman who's going to go after me? And so what they do is they get all these people. I don't know about you, but when I look around, I don't see too many
healthy people.
Right?
Right.
It's what 70% of the country's pre-diabetic, 60% is overweight, 55% is morbidly obese or something like that.
Yeah.
So we're not healthy.
Astounding numbers, right?
It's an astounding number. But what we're doing is we're getting these lab values. These people are coming to the labs and they're drawing these people's blood. They're diabetic. They're overweight. They have blood pressure. They're on cholesterol medications. They have cancer, on chemo, whatever. And they're taking these lab results and they're averaging them out and they're giving us a reference range, which I call old sick people, or the pathological range is what they're basing you and I on, telling us we're healthy based on a bunch of sick people.
Sick people. I know. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because I don't think this conversation has had enough.
Absolutely.
And there is a distinct difference between the pathological range and an optimal range.
Yes.
And I know that, that is one thing that we've been speaking about, quite extensively, is really the difference is night and day between the pathological range and the optimal range. And then this is really when you can start to see, to really help people make progress in their health. And I remember when I first learned about, the pathological ranges and like you mentioned, how everything's averaged, like you've got, you're averaging numbers from sick people. And then, so we're treating people, we're using that as our reference.
Yes.
And it's like we're teaching to that. I'm not teaching to that, but we're treating to that. I'm like, that's not the standard I want to be treated against. I don't want to be measured against that. I want to be measured against what's optimal.
Absolutely.
Right? So talk to us a little bit about the difference between pathological and optimal ranges.
I'm glad you asked that. And I was wondering for your listeners, we talk these terms, pathological and optimal. So when I talk to my health partners, because I don't have clients or patients, I have health partners, because we're all in this together. I explain pathological, and I give them this example. If the normal, air quote, range is 2 to 20. So we know that if it's less than 2, I may have symptoms of some deficiency. That just says thyroid. So I'm going to be overweight, tired, depressed, constipated, hair loss, bad nails, whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's above 20, then I'll be anxious, irritable, heart racing, hair falling out, or maybe I'm having diarrhea. I don't want to be too great. But
no, we're all healthcare professionals, so it's fine. You're fine. This is normal conversation.
Right. So we understand that if I go to the doctor and say high or low, okay, we know there's a problem. So that's the pathological range. So what if I told you the optimal, the healthy, the functional range is 9 to 15? So this is where most doctors and most patients and nurse practitioners, whomever, get it wrong. Because if the optimal range, which is inside the 2 to 20, now optimal healthy is 9 to 15. So there are some instances where I can be below 9, but still greater than 2, but have symptoms like I'm having low thyroid, since we're using thyroid as an example. So I have the symptoms like I was less than 2. Or I could be 15 to 19 to 20 in that range and have symptoms like I have excessive thyroid symptoms, but I'm in the normal range. So I can be having these symptoms, yet the doctor telling me I'm normal. Because I'm inside of the pathological or so-called normal range. But what I'm actually I'm outside of the optimal range, which is, let's call it dysfunction, or where things, or maybe I'm at dis-ease. But when I get outside the range, I'm in disease, right?
Yeah.
So that is the difference between a pathological range that's taken from what a collection of people in your region versus being healthy. So when we're looking at optimal functional ranges, it doesn't matter where you're in Southwest, Southeast, Northeast, Northwest, middle. I don't know if I call it the middle passage, but
Middle America, Midwest,
wherever you are. The healthy ranges, or what we call all-cause mortality, simply means it doesn't matter what disease process, if you outside of these ranges, all cause mortality, heart attack, strokes, diabetes will fall outside of these ranges.
Yeah.
That's all that means. So that's the difference between pathological and optimal. And that's why a lot of your listeners and our clients and our partners are sent away from the L. You sending your, if you're healthcare, you're sending your people away to dismissed instead of thinking that they're normal. And when they're not normal, they have these symptoms, but you're looking at it from a pathological range and not an optimal range.
And this is so important. And thank you so much for really going into in depth and explaining the difference in depth. And it's so important because how many times have you heard? I know I've heard this time and time and time again when I'm working with my holistic health clients. They're not listening to me. They're telling me I'm fine. I know I'm not fine, but they keep saying my blood work is fine. And it comes to a point where, I'm sure you've heard, your clients, your patients, they're feeling unheard. They're feeling dismissed. They're actually kind of starting to feel they might be crazy because I keep going to all of these providers. They keep telling me I'm fine, but I know I'm not fine. But maybe I'm just thinking, maybe I'm making all of this up. And so we really have, done a disservice. Not intentionally, but Oprah always says, when you know better, you do better. And so now we know better. We know that there is a huge difference between optimal and pathological. And now we can act accordingly. We can educate accordingly. We can provide solutions accordingly. And so, one thing that I'm really passionate about, I know you and I both share this passion, is really educating providers, nurses, nurse practitioners, and physicians on this information, really helping to really make a difference.
Yes.
By focusing on the function range or optimal range. And so, you and I have something that we're working on that we are launching to help bridge that gap.
Yes.
To help bridge that gap, because at the end of the day, we're all here to make an impact.
Yes.
Right. And if we can make an impact, or when we make an impact on one's health, we impact their life. We impact the life of their spouse, their children. We impact the world, because we've heard this time and time again. Health is wealth, and it is. It is, because if we don't have our health, we don't have anything. And so I'm really excited about what we're bringing. I won't get into it too much yet, but I want you to share some of the secrets, some of the things that are missed. Because the title of this episode is Secrets, the secret language of blood work that most doctors miss. So what are we missing?
Well, what we're missing is, like I say, we just talked about one of the secrets. One of the optimal ranges, like the not looking at the traditional reference range, what we're going to call pathological range, right? Mm-hmm. Those are one of the secrets to find out that there are other ways to look at blood work. But also, I'll use the CBC, which stands for complete blood count with differential. I think every provider, everybody, as I always say, everybody, their mama, grandmama, the dog that had a CBC drawn, right?
For sure.
That's everything. And so but there's things in a CBC. I call that liquid gold. I think the CBC is gold. There's so many things in a CBC with differential. You have to have the differential that you can glean from things from what we use a CBC for originally, like in energy, anemia, infection, inflammation, autoimmune conditions. We can find all these kind of things in the CBC. And what I would challenge anybody to do is go pull out their own CBCs with differentials. And one I'm gonna give them the WBC, the white blood cell count. That's a WBC. That's usually at the top, the very first thing.
Very first
now,
thing.
The range on there, the normal range is going to be around 3.8, or depends where you are, to 11 point something. So that's going to be the traditional pathological range. But the optimal range is between 5 and 8. So when I see a white blood cell count and I'm saying, well, if it's less than 5 or greater than 8, there's probably some type of chronic, low-grade infection going on. Or something has irritated the immune system, that's activated the immune system. But a lot of times that may not be as accurate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to the differential, and you will see 5 things on differential. You'll see neutrophils. You may see the word granulocytes. It's the same thing, depends on where you are. You'll see lymphocytes, or lymphs for short. You will see eosinophils, basophils, and monocytes. But I'm going to just take 2, give you a pattern. I'm going to just take 2 of those 5, neutrophils and lymphocytes. Now, The neutrophils are they're the infantry. That's the army. That's the Marines. They're the first boots on the ground, right? They're gonna go first. So neutrophils, when you look at the range, it should be 60% or less. But 60% is the number I want everybody to think of.
Mhm.
The lymphocytes should be 30% or less. Now, if it's above 60%, we tend, now it's a probability. Now, I'm not saying we're making diagnoses,
Right.
but the immune system is activated either against a bacteria, a fungal, or a yeast infection. Potentially, it's high probability. If the lymphocytes are above 30, we tend to feel like the immune system has been activated or irritated, probably most likely by a viral infection, right? So above 60, think of bacteria. We can't tell a fungal or yeast infection by blood work, but if it's above 60, it's a high probability. The second thing, the lymphocytes above 30, think viral, a high probability of a viral infection. Now, that's not the secret I want you to know. That's part of it. The big secret is that I told you 60%, 30%. That is a 2-to-1 ratio.
Right.
Now that is the key. That's what that ratio needs to be 2-to-1. So 60-30, 2-to-1. Now it doesn't matter if it's 3-to-1, 4-to-1, 5-to-1. So those, no, we're not worried about that. But as that 2-to-1 ratio starts to getting closer to 1-to-1, say 48, 42, 45, whatever, that is an autoimmune signature. Which means, I'm not saying it's an autoimmune disease.
Right.
That is what we call an autoimmune signature. There's a high probability that you will probably develop, if you don't already have one, you are probably trending towards developing an autoimmune condition sometime in your life.
Yeah. So, and this is so important. This is so important because, well, number one, oftentimes autoimmune diseases are misdiagnosed, period, because it shows up so vaguely, and so there's so much testing and agony, I would say, trying to find what the problem is, try to narrow down what the autoimmune disease is. But what I'm hearing you say is, when we're looking at the that 2-to-1, and as it's starting to get tighter and tighter, closer to that 1-to-1, now we can start to see trends. And when we can see, when we recognize that as a marker, an autoimmune signature, not a marker, but an autoimmune signature, we can intervene there. We don't have to wait till it's full blown and everything is out of whack, and now you're really suffering. I say you, but our clients are really suffering. We can intervene a lot quicker.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. This is so important.
Absolutely. And the key is that most autoimmune conditions, 80% of them are triggered by a virus.
Yeah.
But most times it's never really just one infection, because no matter what's dominated, the virus dominating, it could still be a bacterial and fungal infection that is just being suppressed by the dominance of the virus at the time, right? So you probably want to, if you work with us, we'll show you how you kind of take care of all three of them, right? So in the same breath. So yeah, we want to prevent things. If we can get little snapshots into the future, it's almost like having kind of sort of like a crystal ball a little bit. And so you can see what's potentially going to happen. And when patients, most clients, or I keep saying patients, but no partners, they're visual. And so I can sit here and tell you how smart I am, but that's what they want. Most people from Missouri, they want you to show them. They from the show me.
That's right, show me state.
They from the show me state, right? So, and I get so many clients to come in and say, wow, I did not know that. I say, well, of course. And I said, but don't worry, I didn't know this all my life. I was trained as a traditional medical doctor. And I didn't know this either, but through life experiences, like I told, my mom was a catalyst for me to try to dig deeper and find out this is what I went into medicine. I'm rejuvenated, because instead of watching people get sicker and sicker, younger and younger, the youngest patient was just diagnosed in China at 19 years old with Alzheimer's.
Oh.
Yes. So old people diseases, we got 20-year-old, 30-year-old with diabetes, not away from type 1, right?
Right.
Obese to hypertension, they got these chronic diseases at 20, 30, 40 years old, when a generation before us didn't have all this. We're on so much medicines right now that the typical 70, 80-year-old before us didn't have what they do now,
Mhm.
because now everybody's on a 3
Right.
blood pressure, 2 cholesterol, all this kind of crap. So
And it's really sad. That's kind of the standard. It's almost like the expectation. I actually had a conversation with a friend not so long ago. I actually referenced this friend in the book that I co-authored, the Creating the Functional Medicine Revolution. I don't know why I couldn't think of the name of it,
mhm.
but I remember I was talking to him about. No, I think I just called or something, just saying, hey, you check in on your friends.
Mhm, yeah.
And I said, hey, what's going on? He's like, oh, I just got back from the doctor. I'm like, oh, everything okay? Like, what's going on? Like, oh, he was like, oh yeah, no, my blood pressure is high, so they just put me on some medicine. I'm like, well, has it been high? He's like, well, no. And I
Wow.
said, well, I said, well, did they say how long you're gonna have to take it? He's like, well, no. And I said, and you're okay with this? He said, well, I just thought that happens when you get old. I'm like, oh my gosh, like we have been programmed and conditioned to think when you get old, you're going to automatically, it's the expectation is that you're going to be on three heart medications, two, whatever the case may be.
That's right.
And it's really unfortunate, but I say it's unfortunate and it is, but I'm so glad that now we have this information.
Yes.
Right. Now we have this information that can really change the trajectory of how it is that we work with our clients and or
Yes.
patients.
Yep.
And so how do you see this information really looking at things from a root cause, really looking at using optimal ranges or functional ranges
Mhm.
instead of pathological ranges? What do you see? How do you see that as what do you see the impact of that for nurses, nurse practitioners, and providers or physicians?
Oh, the impact is going to be, not only it'll be less burnout, it's going to be satisfaction.
Yeah.
It'll be more impact. So the satisfaction you get from helping a person overcome a situation or condition that's
Mhm.
been decreasing their quality of life or crippling them in their situation. I mean, there's nothing there's no better feeling to know that you made that type of impact in someone's life. And so how
Yeah.
not only will it impact them professionally, it'll impact them economically, because when you're the go-to person, now let's keep it real, everybody want to be altruistic and saying
Mhm.
doctors do no harm. I agree with that's my Hippocratic oath. Nurses, we took those
Mhm.
Hippocratic oaths, but also do not harm me either. Right? So we all
Right.
get on in the process, right? So, but no, the impact, I mean, just the fact that you be able to help people
Mhm.
to overcome these challenges that's been beating them down for years and years. And when there's, like you say, that we just come so used to that is, oh, you're older. And I have a 38-year-old lady who's going to work with me. I got to call her today. And she keeps saying there's a 51. She said, my God, they keep saying, oh, that's just a part of the getting older. And
It's just a part of getting older.
the, yes, the lady said,
Yeah.
she said, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I felt better getting off the phone with you. And we haven't done anything yet because I felt like I was heard for the first
Yes.
time. She said, I felt like I felt so much weight off of me
Yeah.
because somebody gets, she said, and she's literally crying. Somebody
Mhm.
gets it. And when you can, and if everybody come to me for hormones, I'm the hormone guy, right?
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I tell people, I get that, but it's not just your
Yes.
hormones.
Hormones. Yeah.
Hormones is the end result. Those symptoms, where's it come? Like you mentioned, root cause.
Mhm.
I want to challenge the root, whether it's junk foods, pesticides, what we're eating, what we're drinking, the makeups, chemicals we putting on ourselves.
Mhm.
So lifestyle plus genetics.
Yeah.
So we all have the propensity for
Mhm.
disease in our body. But if we can take an axe to the root cause that's causing inflammation, that's messing with my DNA, that's making me express the fruit, which is diabetes, weight gain, depression, autoimmune conditions. So that's the fruit. So the problem with the doctors and healthcare providers, not just the doctors, I want to, we
No,
all,
it's we're all yeah. It's exactly.
right?
It's
We
the
all,
system. It's just pervasive in the system.
it's the capitalistic system. And I can't
Yeah.
remember what that big famous
Big
Wall Street bank, Goldman Sachs.
Goldman
Goldman
Sachs.
Sachs.
Uh-huh.
It was an article, and I'm going to find it. It was an article that said they got out of the hepatitis C. Mark, you know they reversed it because they cured that with the vaccine.
Mhm.
They said health and wellness is not a sustainable business, viable business market for us. Why? Because we can't get paid from cures. We need you to be sick. So your
Yeah.
friend that says they didn't tell me how long I'm gonna be on the blood pressure medicine. Why? Because I got to pay my shareholders. I need you to be on it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
There's no money in cure.
No, there's
And
none.
that's why Goldman Sachs said this is not a sustainable business model to be
Right.
in this curing business because it's not sustainable, which means we can't make billions and
Money.
billions of dollars off this. Right. And we
Right.
also, we probably need to go in hiding because they're going to come after us,
It's
right? Because
okay.
we give them the truth, right? So, hey,
It's true.
I'll be a
Uh,
martyr, but it's all good.
you know what? Bring it, because, like you said, I think all the reason why we go into medicine, the reason why we go into nursing, the reason why we go into healthcare is because we do want to make an impact, because we do
Yeah.
want to help people get better. And and up until now, because most of us, all of us, have been traditionally trained, we're coming to the realization, at least the people that listen to my podcast, they've come to the realization that we've been putting band-aids on things. We've been
Yes.
putting band-aids on things.
Yes.
And now we're at a point where we can actually do something
Yes.
other than just a band-aid. We can literally, like to your point, um, find the root cause and
Yes.
pull out that root cause. You fix the root cause, you no longer have symptoms. You don't
Absolutely.
have symptoms to manage. And
Absolutely.
and that's what I love so much about being a holistic health um, coach and practitioners, because that's the approach. That's the approach. And so I love that. And so for those of you who are listening, you're like, man, I didn't even know that about the CBC, the diff. I didn't know that. And if you're thinking, well, what else do I not know? I've got something really cool. We've got something really cool for you. We are actually, you tell them about it, Dr. Orlandis. I'll just tell them this. We have an amazing educational masterclass that's going to
Yes.
equip you with knowledge so
Yes.
that you can better support yourself, your family, your clients. And not only that, because you talked about this a second ago, Dr. Orlandis, about yes, it's going to impact their health, but also it'll impact your business
Yes.
substantially. And so talk to us a little bit about that, our masterclass, all the things.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sharice. And
Mhm.
like I said, we've been collaborating, but we just so intertwined with the way we feel our passion, not only for our business, ourselves, but for the people that we serve. And
Yeah.
so what we're going to do is, if you I just gave you a little bit on the differential, right? So they're just the tip of the iceberg. So we're going to do a master class, and it's called, ironically, the secret language in blood work that most doctors miss. And we're going to open this up for healthcare providers, whether you're a physician, a nurse practitioners, and you'd be like, well, how does this benefit me? It benefits you because even if you're a hospital nurse, you can look at patients' charts, and we know that doctors may not listen to you, but at least you can, I'm not telling you go against the order, but you can whisper to the
Yeah.
family, hey, go get them this supplement because this is good. You know what I'm saying? So you can't diagnose, right?
Right.
But all we want to show you that some more things, like how can this make an impact in you professionally? Because you're going to find to be able to get people better faster than other people cannot. You can be able to help them on a whole different level. Not only is it going to separate you from the competition. I don't own the competition. I believe in the competition for myself to be better
Same.
today
Yeah.
than I was yesterday. But for the purpose of what we're trying to explain, so the other involved providers, you're going to separate yourself. Why? Because you're going to be the go-to person who gets to the root, who knows how to fix these things and not keep people on. Even for natural people, I don't want you on a supplement forever. A
Right.
bag full of supplements, that's no quality of life either. So we're going to teach you some root cause principles, some secrets, some patterns. Now that's going to impact your practice, but it's going to impact you too. Guess what? Financially, because guess what? If you can't keep your lights on, you can't help anybody. So we want to show you how, and we'll show you a different stream of income. If you're not already in practice, you want to get in practice. That's a whole nother story. But I'm just saying, but it'll show you how this stuff can impact you. As a medical doctor taking insurance for $20 and $30 copays,
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you right now that I just closed the case for $8,000. I
Mm-hmm.
only have to see them once a month, and I'm gonna draw some blood 2 or 3 times. Guess what? But it's not only why, because it's not about the money, it's about the transformation.
That's
We
it.
want to empower you to give you, not only you, it'll be a transformation for you in your business, but a transformation for the clients that you're going to work
Mhm.
with now, or who you work with in the past, who you're going to work with in the future. You can retro some of this stuff and get those
Absolutely.
cases and make them and finally unlock that thing that was holding them back that you couldn't figure out why I couldn't get them better. And they
Yeah.
left because they felt like, well, I failed again. Let me try somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those are
This is
things
a
we're gonna do.
I love that. It's about being able, equipping you
Yes.
with the knowledge, the tools, the
Yep.
skill set to be able to help your clients get better, uh,
Yep.
help them find a solution, help them find the, like you said, unlock the secret, help them discover,
Yep.
find the secret to what actually is going on with them, and helping provide them the solution. And again, how at the same time, which is equally important in my book, because like you say, if you can't keep the lights on, if you're struggling, how much of an impact can you make? If you're always
Absolutely.
consumed with finances, or oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to close the doors to my business, you can't make the level of impact that you're wanting to make in health or in life. And so
Absolutely.
I love that this is what we're going to be teaching in this masterclass, is perfect for RNs,
Yep.
NPs, DNPs, MDs, NDs,
Slowly,
all of
ever.
all, yes, all of the above. And we're even going to talk about how easy and seamless you can integrate this into what you already have,
Mhm.
what other offerings or services that you already have in place. And even if you don't have anything in place, this is such a beautiful place to start.
Yes. And
Beautiful, beautiful, easy, and impactful place to start at the very beginning of your journey. For those of you who are listening, you're like, well, I'm just starting. This is a perfect place to start.
perfect place. You come out the gate, what's the thing in the midst of my, you're untarnished, you're untainted, you're not tainted,
Yeah.
you haven't been tainted by the system yet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Sharice, you said some great tool set and skill set. That's great. We'll give you we want to give strategies and tactics. But guess
Mhm.
what? That's the bottom level, right?
Right. True.
Mindset,
That's
how to
everything.
communicate, and vision. That is where your value comes from. Everybody got a strategy, everybody got a tactic, but can you communicate?
Yeah.
Because we can give you all this knowledge, and the wisdom is how do I apply it, not just
Quiet.
to have it. You got to know when and where and why, how to apply it, right?
Absolutely.
So the vision, the communication, so the strategy and tactics, no problem, but the vision, the communication, and the vision, which is the top part, that's what we
Mhm.
want to get you to.
Right.
We want
And
to get
that's
you separate, holy. I say it for you Christians out there, holy. You say God is holy, so we want to get you holy and separate from everything else. That's the ultimate. Separate you
yeah.
from everybody else who's just doing traditional stuff and do
Right.
the stuff that really makes a difference.
Yep. And talk about setting your apart. Setting your apart, like I said, to your point, um, every area. Yes, the knowledge, the skill set. That in and of itself is going to set you apart.
Yes.
But again, and this is something I teach in my master class, is that most people will teach you how to do things on a physical level,
Yes.
but missing the other 2/3, knowing how to operate, particularly in your business, from an intellectual level and a spiritual level. Now you've got the whole enchilada. Now
Yep.
you've got the whole enchilada, and talk about again setting yourself apart. No one can touch you, and you can literally write your own paycheck.
More
Literally write your own
income,
paycheck.
more impact, and more freedom.
That's
Absolutely.
it. And that is what we want. More income. What did you say? More income, more
Yeah.
impact, and more
Impact
freedom.
and more freedom. You got it.
That's it. Wow. That's a great place to end, actually. I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. So I know, Dr. Orlandis, you have put together a cheat sheet, if you
Yes.
will. A cheat
Yep.
sheet, kind of not just going into like some of the things that we talked about, but just other things that you can that they can start utilizing and looking for now. You want to tell
Yes.
us a little bit about that?
Yeah, and what I call the streets, I call it the 5 lab values if you're a provider that you must be ordering and following on your patients. If you're a client, patient, then these are the 5 lab markers that you absolutely must need to know. So in that gift we're going to give you, it's going to
Yeah.
tell you about the 5 ones you must have. We're going to have the pathological range in there, and I'm going to give you the optimal range in there. So when you go through that, you'll know what to look for. So
Love
those
it.
just that's something to get you started to at least, if I do this, I know I'm at least keeping them healthy to some aspect. I'm keeping them some healthy. Of course, with everything going on health today, you need more than 5 markers, but at least this
Yeah.
start, right? Just
It's,
something to get you
yeah.
started, right?
Yeah, it's
So
like an appetizer. It's an appetizer.
yeah.
It gets you started, and I love that. And thank you so much. It's a wonderful gift. Make sure to link it below in the show notes,
Mhm.
and as well as we'll be sure to link the masterclass. The masterclass where we're really going to go really deep into other secrets
Yep.
that are hidden in your lab work, as
Yep.
well as really how to monetize this information,
Yes.
incorporate it into whatever else you have going on right now, or make it in a standalone offer as is.
Yep.
Very powerful, very potent, very effective, and very impactful. And
Absolutely.
so That being said, Dr. Landis, any last words that you want to leave our listeners with?
Just, you know what? I know it's tough for us providers out here. I know it's this corporate, there's all this kind of stuff going on. There's this collaborations with these, they're buying up every individual practitioner out there. I want you to stay the course. Stay the course. These people are literally dying to know what we need to know. They're literally dying for us to help them. And I mean that figuratively and literally. So stay the course. I know it gets rough. Don't burn out, because guess what? Help is on the way, because this is a better way to do it, where you'll fall back in love with the reason why you went into health, whether you be a holistic health coach, RN, whatever you went in it for. There is a way to fall back in love, to get that passion back into why you originally wanted to go into this field. And we all did, to help people. And so with that being said, stay the course. Don't give up. Come to this masterclass, find out more information. And so we can show you a different life. We can enlighten you on another way to do things.
I love it. And I couldn't have put it any better. So thank you so much
Thank
for sharing that. Thank you for your time, your wisdom, your energy today. I cannot wait. You guys definitely make sure that you register for the masterclass. Again, I'll link it below in the show notes, because this really is revolutionary and life transforming and enlightening, like Dr. Landis said. And so again, thank you, Dr. Landis.
Thank you, Cherise.
You're welcome. And for the listeners, as always, thank you for listening. I love you. I appreciate you. And I'm so very grateful for you for joining me on this episode today. And I look forward to seeing you next week for another transformative episode here on the Cherise Williams Show. Bye for now.